So hi everyone, thanks so much for joining today's webinar. My name is Luzanne Lottering. I'm the marketing manager here at Cardiolog Analytics, and I will go ahead and kick things off. So today's webinar is part 2 of boosting adoption in Teams. This webinar is being recorded. If you want to share this with a colleague, we will go ahead and send an email with the recording after today's session. And of course, if you have any questions, please send them through the questions box within the GoToWebinar panel. We'll leave some time towards the end for Q&A. And you can also connect with us on Twitter with the Twitter handle @Cardiolog. In regards to the agenda for today's webinar, we'll start out with a very short introduction. We'll talk a bit about Cardiolog Analytics and who we are. And then I will show you our engagement solution in action and how it can help you increase your usage of Teams. And then I will explain how our engagement tool can become a game changer for boosting adoption and increasing consumption and collaboration in Teams. And at the end, we'll be taking some Q&A, so feel free, like I said, to send your questions throughout the course of this presentation. So let's begin. A brief introduction. We have been in the analytics space for 365 for about 14 years now. We started back in 2005 with analytics for SharePoint, and we grew with Microsoft to the cloud. And now we really focus on SharePoint on-prem, online, Yammer, and Teams. So we serve customers globally in about every industry, from finance to pharmaceutical, government, education, and many others. And the core of our company is to help drive adoption and usage of these platforms. So once our customers are aware of what's going on, it really helps them to improve those platforms and really drive the adoption and consumption thereof. So just a little bit about our vision as a company. This slide shows our evolution. So there are 3 main pillars that we talk to our customers about. The first pillar is monitoring activity, which is tracking the usage within SharePoint and Teams with in-depth analytics, insights, and usage reports. Our customers realized that understanding usage analytics is often simply not enough. They wanted a way to take action based on the insights gained from monitoring their portal usage. The second is engaging the users, asking them what their needs are, what their pain points are, and what's not working for them. And then finally, the most important pillar is enhance. We want to make sure that we are constantly improving these platforms based on those 2 pillars. So the real bottom line of our products are to help customers get more out of tools like SharePoint and Teams. In other words, getting people to use these technologies more. As I have mentioned earlier, here's a brief overview of our various analytics and employee engagement solutions. So our flagship product is Cardiolog Analytics, and this is available both as an on-prem and as a SaaS solution. This is what was discussed in detail in part 1 of our webinar. We also have Gamify, a revolutionary SharePoint-based gamification service which encourages users to take action in the portal and ultimately increasing their SharePoint adoption. And then finally, we have Cardiolog Engage, a great interactive solution for sending internal communication campaigns across SharePoint and within the Microsoft Teams portal and engaging with users in that way. So with Engage, your customers can connect with their users to know what their needs are. They can send reminders, you can launch surveys, and dig deep to really understand how you can improve various aspects of your platforms, which I will tell you more about during this presentation. So first I want to hop into a live demo so you can see the solution in action. So in part 1, we showed the data and insights that Cardiolog can provide. Today I will show you what do we do with that data? How do we leverage that data to take action in those teams where we see that adoption is lower? In the analytics part, my colleague showed you dashboards for teams and data on how people are adopting teams, things such as which teams are more active or inactive, which users are more active, which users aren't using the Teams platform to its full potential, and if users are sharing files or apps. The point of Cardiolog Engage is to further engage end users. So everything here is based on information captured by Cardiolog Analytics. Our analytics is different from the out-of-the-box analytics. It is more in depth, it's more down to the user level and more advanced, and it allows you to take action, which is the game changer. So with all this data, you can, for example, if a team has not been active in 40 days, then you can intervene and you can drive the activity and you can drive the user behavior that you want. Let me show you. So if in the data you have noticed that there are specific users who did not interact with Microsoft Teams ever, or more than, let's say, 2 weeks, more than 14 days, then you can go ahead and launch a campaign to only these specific users, only these targeted users, to drive them to the Teams platform. You can either send them a link to the Teams platform, a reminder of collateral that they have to go and collaborate on. Maybe you have seen that not particular users, but specific teams. So that will be users belonging to, and let's say the marketing team. This particular team, you have seen in the data that we've shown you in part 1 that this team has not been active in Teams. They are lagging in terms of adoption. They are not sharing files. They're not being productive. They are not collaborative. And then you want to target only these particular users belonging to this specific team and drive their usage and drive their adoption. So you will not be sending a message to everyone, bombarding them with messages, but only to very targeted groups, a very targeted audience, to drive the adoption and consumption of Microsoft Teams. So how can this message be sent? The channels available will first of all be, for example, if they are in the sales team and they are out in the field and they don't have access to SharePoint or emails, then maybe a text message will be the best channel for these particular users or these particular teams. Perhaps they are incredibly active in SharePoint, but not in Teams. Then you would want to send them a message right within the SharePoint portal, maybe with a link back to Teams or a reminder of a file in Teams that they have to go and collaborate on, because you want to also drive their productivity. That can pop up as a header or a footer, or maybe it's quite crucial and you will send them a full screen pop-up in SharePoint. You can also email these particular users or teams, but email has been proven not to be the most successful way to drive adoption, because users tend to want to get rid of all their emails in their inbox. So they might feel bombarded or they might even miss an email. So perhaps the best way will be to send them a message right within Teams that will show up as a channel message in Teams, with a reminder of perhaps Teams training they have to attend, a file in Teams they have to collaborate on. Maybe they are still active in Slack and you are trying to get your users to move to Teams. Then send them a message in Slack. Tell them soon they won't have access to this platform, and send them a link back to Teams so they start using the Teams platform more. How can these messages be sent? So these messages can be sent either as, like I've said, a message right within the Teams platform. And you can, for example, maybe invite them to Teams training and you want them to RSVP to this message. This is great because it's also bi-directional. So then they can RSVP to this message about the Teams training. Maybe you see a specific team is lagging in terms of adoption, and you want to send a message to these members asking them, I've noticed that you haven't been active in Teams for the last 14 days. Please give me some feedback as to why that is. And then your users can even go and send you a message that will go back to you. Your call to action will then be open question, and they can tell you exactly why the adoption is lagging. So you will get this great actionable feedback directly from the users, and this will help you to know what to focus your training and support on in order to get more users to be more active and engaging in the Teams platform. So how will this message be sent? This can be sent immediately. You can schedule it to be sent at a specific time. That could be your time zone, it could be the user's time zone. And what is really neat, you can also send this message and it could be triggered based on their behavior. So this is the behavior that we see in the analytics from part 1. So maybe you want to base it on a specific user scrolling down a specific page in SharePoint. So when they are busy in SharePoint, they are active, they are engaged, this will be the best time to send a message to this particular user with a link back to Teams, a reminder of collateral in Teams that they have to go and collaborate on. And then, like I said, it will be sent. This is all about sending the right message at the right time to the right user. And this is the most effective way to drive adoption of Teams. If I go back to my slides, there we go. So let's go back to the adoption problem. This problem is more prevalent than you might think. Surveys show that more than half of businesses are flat out terrible at getting users to adopt new software. And although lots of businesses try to pick up the slack after a slow launch, we see a lot of platforms left to go to waste because of poor user adoption. So if you are joining us today, you likely have some difficulty with getting users to adopt Teams. You invested money in a technology and you had high hopes, but it is not going how you have planned. You want to sort out your adoption issues because the organization will see improved productivity and a positive ROI. Once again, as discussed in part 1, Microsoft has an adoption checklist for different sized businesses. And last week, we discussed those 3 phases of adoption: the start, the experiment, and the scale. Today, in part 2, we will talk about driving adoption with internal communication. So when we are trying to get users to use a new platform, and you want to get them to use the platform more, the following is important. You want to, first of all, create awareness. You want to engage with a targeted audience or targeted users, and you'd want to enable bi-directional communication. So not only communicating with the users, but also having them communicate back to you. So feedback. Cardiolog Engage, like I've shown you, can get a user's attention and create this awareness. So if you want to optimize or change the way that people are using Teams, you need to have a promising way to get the user's attention and engage with them, which is exactly what Engage does. So the first way Engage can help you when you are trying to get users to use Teams is, like I said, raising awareness by informing, involving, and inspiring your users in order to see the expected behavior change required for new technology deployment. Keeping your employees in the loop and making them feel heard will result in a much higher adoption rate. So you should enable two-way communication with your users to also find out firsthand what's working and what isn't, and to be able to tailor training to the needs of your employees. Keeping your employees in the loop and making them feel heard will really result in a much higher adoption rate. In order to maximize the use of the Teams platform, we have to push new people who have not yet been on the Teams platform to go on and check it out for themselves. And for that, you need to notify them of new features. You need to advise them on where to go for what. You need to notify them of new tabs or new sections that don't get any attention, and so on. So with Engage, we can push or notify specific people, only the relevant people, so not all the users. And this is the key. Also, in terms of productivity, Engage allows you to engage your users in order to expose them to new or relevant content in the app. So that also enables you to establish new methods in which to communicate. These methods maximize the potential success to gain the user's attention and to complete the relevant tasks, such as telling a specific team to check out a file before the end of the day, or informing a specific team or specific users of assignments that have to be done, and so on. So keep users updated and motivated and ask for feedback. To ensure that this right message lands in the right hands, like I've mentioned, it is absolutely critical to organize a proactive communication strategy for your users to send the message you want your users to receive. So when you want your users to adopt a new software such as Teams, it is important to offer them a way to ask questions or to give this feedback. So therefore, like I said, you should enable two-way communication with your users to find out firsthand what's working, what isn't working, and to be able to tailor training and support to the needs of your employees. Internal communication is more important than ever before. So when you are trying to get employees to adopt to Teams, an internal communication plan to drive user adoption to its highest potential is absolutely necessary. So to ensure that this right message lands in the right hands, it's critical to organize a proactive communication strategy. So if you use multiple channels in your awareness campaign to communicate the same message, you'll get a stronger response and a higher adoption rate from your end users. Therefore, in Teams, in Engage, we have different channels in which to engage with your users, from email to text message to a pop-up in SharePoint, and like I've shown you, also the social platforms can be integrated with directly, so they can get a message even within Teams. You could also host a kickoff event to announce your company's plans. For example, if we're talking about migrating from Slack to Teams, and you can also send a variety of messages within SharePoint to reiterate upcoming changes and save vital time and increase clarity and excitement in the lead up to your Teams rollout, for example. So Engage uses all these methods to target the right user based on the analytics and to send the right message to them at the right time to really drive the adoption of Teams. So I've basically covered everything I wanted to cover today. I will now give you a minute. If there are any questions that will come through, I would be happy to answer any of these questions. I see one question already came through earlier, so let me answer that. Do you have a trial? So yes, we do have a trial. We have a free trial, and we also have a proof of concept for people who want a longer evaluation or want to try more environments and features versus this free limited trial. Please contact us so we can share more information about what is included in each. I have another question. Is Engage available for purchase in AppSource? Yes, that's actually a very good question in terms of where you can get Engage and how to download it. So both the solution that we spoke about in part 1 of this webinar, the analytics, as well as the engagement, both of these solutions are available in AppSource under apps. So you can easily go and fill in your details in AppSource and purchase it from there. I have another question from Melissa. You mentioned SharePoint a couple of times. Can we use it for SharePoint also? Yes, Melissa, so absolutely. You can use this tool with SharePoint on-prem as well as with SharePoint online. So within Office 365, we can track SharePoint, we can track Yammer, and obviously Teams. And also in our roadmap, we will soon be releasing tracking capabilities for OneDrive as well. I have another question here. So I have another question about if it's targeted just for enterprises. So most of our customers are enterprises, but our solution can also be used for cloud service providers. It can be used for small and medium businesses. We really help customers of all different industries and all different sizes. You see this question, let me just scroll down. Suleiman asked, so I think you're asking about, I can't see this one question, the licensing model, and that is a yearly subscription. I think you're asking about the pricing model, Suleiman. So it's a yearly subscription based on the number of users that we are tracking. And then I see one more question from Robert about does it take a lot of time to deploy? So Robert, what's neat about this tool is it's designed for SharePoint. So there's no need for customization when you want to deploy. So with our setup wizard, you can get it up and running within an hour, and you can already start collecting data and as well as start launching campaigns. And then another question came through about pricing, which I believe I've just answered. It's a yearly subscription based on the number of users that we are tracking. It looks like those are all the questions that came through. So it looks like we're gonna finish quite early today. So I think that's it for the questions. So we are just about done, I would say. I'm going to then wrap up the session. And as a reminder, we have recorded this webinar and we will be sending out a recording tomorrow for you to share with your colleagues who may be unable to attend. And I also want to invite you to visit us at cardiologanalytics.com for more information, or you can email us at info@intlock.com to book a free demo for a colleague or a customer or a partner. And then, yes, thank you very much for joining, and a huge thank you also for everyone who sent in their questions. And if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to contact us directly. I'd be happy to answer all the questions. Great, thank you very much and have a good rest of your day.